the end, though, it's not about technique. It's about when I sing, do I feel like my heart has lifted? Do I feel like I'm connected to another universal source? I just saw the most wonderful quote by Chaka Khan, which is something like, when I sing, I feel like I'm connected to the universe.
The paths our lives take may be difficult to observe while we are in the thick of things. Questions of, who am I really? What am I going to do now? Are, at times, nearly overwhelming. Passions which will shape us can come into our lives with or without our willing them into existence. I met Lisa Popeil under fairly benign circumstances, looking for a one-time vocal lesson, and while I only spent an hour under her watchful eye, she betrayed a much greater depth of insight and a love for the expression of the voice than her ad could have prepared me for. This episode, while it spends a fair amount of time on technical vocal technique, also explores the introduction of passion to a life and provided me with an increased appreciation for the paths we choose and how they may appear when viewed from afar rather than from within the moment. I can only hope that this will also allow you, my listener, to consider the paths your own life has taken to this point and to look for your own through line, your own narrative arc. My name is JT Erickson, and this is No More Strangers. So I guess, and with that, we're live. My mistake. Lisa Popeil, thank you so much for having me up to your home.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to this.
I know, right? Me too. I've been looking forward to this. Just a brief background, because we don't know each other all that well other than the last couple of conversations preparing for this, but we met, 2018 or 2019, because I was in search of some vocal training before a singularly minor performance. And you were gracious enough to accept me as a one-time student, and you left a massive impression on me. And so as I've been back in the Los Angeles area, I decided to look you up, and here we are.
Here we are in the cute little town of Fillmore, out in the country. The word country is not often associated with the LA metropolitan area, but we're not that far.
We're not that far. It was just about an hour to get here, and it's beautiful. I would say this almost every time I drive anywhere in California. It's just beautiful.
People can badmouth California all they want, but I'm not leaving.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Like I badmouth California all the time, and yet, as we say, here we are. I'm here my third time, and it's kind of wonderful. Well, before we get started, anything you feel that people should know about you before I start making you tell me all about you?
Well, the thing that comes to mind is this rather strange passion I have for vocal improvement. I think it's something we all take for granted, even just speech. We all take for granted, and it's so much of who we are. So it's not just singing improvement. For me, singing was just an opportunity I'd been given. It's not like I had some driving need to sing. A lot of people do, and I think that's wonderful. When you grow up and you have a driving interest in something, I think I'm kind of jealous of that. For me, I just had a mother who had only gone to second grade, and she wanted to provide her children with every educational opportunity to see what stuck. And I did ballet, and I did ice skating, and horseback riding, and I just was not physical. I was very weak and uncoordinated, and I was sick all the time. But I started piano at 4. We had a piano. Would you like lessons? Okay. If she hadn't asked or I hadn't said okay, we wouldn't be talking today. I'd be in some completely different field.
Yeah. If we were talking, it would be for a completely different reason.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I often think about philosophically about the roads not taken, or how one moment, one word can alter your entire life trajectory, and that we're often one person away from
Which
a
we were talking
completely new opportunity or the worst decisions of your life, the most miserable things that can happen. Just one moment, one person, one name, one contact away. So I don't have any judgment on that. It's just something I notice when you get to be of a certain age and you look back. I mean, I always look back and always, reassess. I mean, I remember being 7 years old and having what other people would call deathbed ruminations. But once I realized that we all die, that every living thing I see is going to die, that helped my trajectory. I didn't want to die in my deathbed scenario at the age of 7. I didn't want to have regrets. I didn't really know what regrets were at the time, but I had a vague sense of what regrets were. So
it's through sort of projecting forward life, what it could be, and then all these things you missed out on because you were on your deathbed at 7.
It's just a weird person. My mom would say, "You're so weird, Lisa," or she'd say, "Why are you so morbid?" And I would laugh. It was funny.
Yeah.
She wasn't wrong. I just was aware of death at a young age, and other kids my age aren't. And I kind of blame her because I think it was at that time that there was some employee of my father's company that had passed away. I don't remember who it was. And my mom took me to the showing at the funeral home. And I looked at the person in the box and I said, "Is he dead?" And she said, "Yes." And then that changed my life because I had that thought, oh, well, it happens to all of every dog or cat or plant I ever have. So she has to take some responsibility for my weird morbidity.
Well, and if I recall, I mean, she spent time as a child extremely ill as well. So this is almost like a patterned part of the experience between you and your mother.
She had rheumatic fever. She was born in 1925 and lived in a shack, from what I understand, in northern Alabama, one of 10 kids, and had rheumatic fever for 7 years, was bedridden. So she had a lot of time to fantasize about an ideal life, to dream about. I think when you're laying down for long periods of time, your mind just wanders. And maybe, I don't know if they didn't have television then, but she knew something about movie stars and glamour. And so she would just fantasize about this life she was going to create for herself. And she did.
Yeah.
Part of that was to provide her children with all the educational opportunities that she missed out on. Even though she was resentful at times when I would do a talent show and she would sit there with her arms crossed and look at me and, "Oh, Lisa, she's not that good." And I thought, why is she being so unsupportive when I'm performing? And I thought, oh, because she never had that chance.
It's maybe a resentment built on her own regret.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. But she otherwise was completely supportive and lovely. But there were a couple of situations where I saw her cross her arms and grit her teeth, and I realized, oh, she wished she had. One time, while I was in my 30s or 40s, she said, "If I hadn't had children," I'm thinking, okay, here it comes.
Yeah, where are you going with this, Mom?
She said, "I think I would have been a buyer. I would have liked to have been a buyer for Saks Fifth Avenue." I thought, yeah, I think I think you would have really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Inside I was going, do you realize what you just said to your daughter? But I also did believe that she would be very suited for that. She was born to be glamorous and to live a sort of elegant, regal life. Though she never really forgave me for not marrying a landed prince of Europe.
The gentry.
Yes. She just, that I always fell in love with drummers or, pop musicians. And she just thought that was really moving down and, not in the direction that she envisioned for me.
And I mean, who can blame you? Like, who can blame you? Living in the world
living in
with
LA,
music.
I mean, the drummers in particular, I have an drummers and says, just the way things turned out. And I just never met wealthy men. I never met royalty. I never met those people. I don't know why, even though my brother was quite the celebrity throughout his whole lifetime and hung out with all sorts of Hollywood types. I really never.
That wasn't where you moved. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not what really came my way. It was just fellow musicians. A lot of people don't realize that I was kind of known as a keyboard player or a songwriter. Uh, but I had a teacher once when I went to Cal Arts, my mentor, and he said, you're a dilettante. And I don't think he was wrong about that because, except that I'm not bad at everything. That's the only thing I would take issue with is this idea if you're a dilettante, you have lots of different interests and you're not good at any of them. So I felt like I do have a lot of interests and I spend a lot of time and effort on all of those interests. So language is one of them, and linguistics, the structure of language, accents, teaching my students how to sing in Russian as perfectly as possible, or French, German, Italian, Spanish. I get a special charge out of that.
Yes.
Always been interested in languages.
Are there, and this may become an esoteric question, are there differences in the way you have to set somebody up or teach them to sing in something like a Russian with a very different sound to it than you would in an English or an English variant?
Well, the mouths can actually be different, the shape of the mouth, Russian compared to, let's say, French. But normally I perfect the lyric myself, and then I create practice tapes. And if there's a sound that they're just not getting, then I will create a list of words in that language that have that sound so they can practice that in different words.
Mm-hmm.
But singing and voice has always been an auditory learning experience for human beings, not visual.
Right.
So there are teachers out there who love to see the voice on a computer screen. And I'm not saying there isn't a place for that. I have apps for that. I sing into apps, but that's not how people have always learned to sing a particular style. It's always by imitation. So I think listening and hearing with acuity and replicating sound is a natural human trait. Some have genetic talent for it, and some don't have genetic talent for it. I think genes do play a big part of it. If I have somebody who comes to me and they can hear a sound and then just make that sound, and I said, do you have a father or mother who is musical? And invariably they do.
Yeah. There's something interesting to what you just said, and then something you led with, how it's hard for us to hear ourselves because we have, the head is producing these echoes, which our ears are going to hear something different than maybe our natural tones. And it always cracks me up, or it doesn't crack me up. It's interesting to me, hearing myself say on this show, I sound completely different when I listen to the playback audio than I do when I'm sitting in the moment hearing it. Like there's a little rattle right now that I can catch. There's a timbre that might be different than what's actually going into your ears or you're capturing. And finding the way to understand that sound variance and then still have near perfect mimicry, as you're describing, with people who can hear a sound and just make it. Like, I don't even know if there's a question there. I'm just curious about it.
Well, though it's well known that humans don't hear themselves accurately because we're hearing ourselves through bone conduction. I also think it's because the direction of our ears is good for hearing the world. So if there's an elephant charging at you, there's survival value in having our ears be the way they are. But if you do something simple like, it's an interesting little hack. What you do is you take your hands and you put them like paws, you put the fingers together, and you put them behind the ears, and without squishing the ears, you just make a big ear.
Sure. Oh, whoa.
And then you can hear yourself as other people hear you.
I just did that. That's wild.
It's really a wild little trick. And a lot of people have hearing loss but don't know it. If I have a student who is out of tune, it's usually from hearing loss in one or both ears. So there's an interesting trick I do, not being an audiologist, but just to give them a sense of, and this is going to lead me into the idea of the brain can grow to learn better how to hear what the ears are not actually hearing, is I'll have them sing a phrase with a cupping, I call it big ear, cupping one of the ears. And if they're in, so let's say you sang right now and you have that extending the big ear, and you sang in tune, and then you try the same thing but with the other ear, and you sang out of tune. So now you've got your hand on your extending your right ear, and if you're out of tune, that tells me that it is your left ear that needed the help, and that you likely have some hearing loss on the ear that was helped when you cupped it.
Sure.
It's a little confusing at first, like, what?
It tracks.
But and I've had some young men, not a lot, but I've had some young men who I said, well, were you in the military? Did you drive a tank? Or did you shoot guns? And if they shot guns on one side, they'd have more hearing loss. So that leads me to this idea that the brain is so interestingly plastic that it can, through experience and paying attention, it can learn to compensate for what the sensory organs are not taking in. Visual, words, you've seen the tests where they have a bunch of words, but all the vowels are missing. And then you just can read it no problem. So it's the brain filling in what information, usually sensory information, that it's not really getting. And it's dependable. You can rely upon it. Like I teach that we can feel our vocal folds. And I've been told by scientists on a number of occasions, I do a lot of research for the last 30 years. I've been doing voice research, and I'm focusing this last golden years of my life doing even more of it. I just got back from South America. In Chile, was working for several days in a fantastic electronics lab there. We've got 3 open invitations to Germany, 3 different labs in Germany that I'll probably do next year. Anyway, I got off track, kind of humble bragging about that. But about the vocal
we'll come
cords.
back to all that. I love this.
Okay, thanks. The vocal cords can feel themselves, and I've had several scientists said that's not possible. I said, I really sense it is possible, and investigating that, there are several sensory neurons, organs that can feel pressure. They're called mechanoreceptors. They may not be exactly in the vocal folds, but they're around the voice box. And so that's an example of when there's certain things pressing, and the mechanoreceptors, which feel pressure, are being triggered. My brain is filling in other sensations that I'm not actually feeling, but my brain makes sense of those in a reliable way, which gives me the impression that I can feel my vocal folds. Also, in the vocal fold, each vocal fold has a little tiny muscle in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got different names. I like to call it vocalis. It's one of its names because it has the word vocal in it. It's Latin. And it has some sensory neurons within the muscle itself. Like these are tiny, tiny muscles. And so that's a different kind of sensation. They're not mechanoreceptors. So all put together, we can learn to feel our vocal folds.
Almost through an inference of.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Yes, an inference and a filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
And traditionally in vocal training, it is often taught, I started in the early 1960s with voice lessons, and that was a traditional classical approach, which went back to the 1800s, maybe even the 1700s, where you were told not to feel anything in your throat. No, really meant, I think the assumption was that if you don't try to feel anything in your neck area, that means you don't have any pain. You don't want to have any pain or discomfort, which I get, but that's not how it was explained. It was explained as don't even try to feel anything. Just try to feel vibration on your nose bone, your cheekbone, your hard palate. A lot of imagery. Shoot the sound here. I'm not saying this doesn't help some people, but that was the only thing. It was just constant vocal exercises. Out of an hour lesson, 50 minutes would be these long and tedious vocal exercises in a classical style, imagining the sound going places and completely ignoring any sensation in the neck area.
How much of that would have been based on the period that we're discussing? So 17, 1800s, probably minimal.
We had no science.
Exactly.
We really had
And
no
it was
science.
projecting from a stage, right? Or there was no amplification
Correct. There was
available.
no amplification. So it's all classical traditionally is there's no soft in opera. It's some version of loud and how to not lose your voice, even though you're singing over 100-piece orchestra. But I feel like with paying attention to sound and paying attention to sensation, you can improve your voice, even if you can't 100% accurately assess your sound except through a recording.
Yeah, I'm picking up this sort of interesting idea of the evolution of the way that we've been using our voice in performance, or even in smaller scales than performance, just because of the introduction of amplification and our ability to start emphasizing some of the smaller, more nuanced tones or sounds that our voices can make. That's really cool to me. I haven't thought about that before.
In commercial music, and that we could say is all the non-classical styles. So commercial is pop, rock, jazz, R&B, musical theater styles, the list goes on. There's so many colors you can make. You can be soft, you can be breathy, you can be muted, you can be nasal, you can be ringy, you can be bright, you can do any combination. You can move your voice box up and down, you can squeeze certain things. You can make extreme vocal sounds like distortion or growling. You can't do any of that in classical because of the demand for volume and what was considered beauty. And a beauty in classical singing is a very open sound, rich, open, very ringy. So it has a piercing quality, but it has a rich, deep quality as well. And requires a lot of air because you have to hold these long phrases out. It's everything except speech-like. And I think that classical singing was written for aristocracy. So they wanted a style or treasured a style that was not natural. It was not what people sounded like out in the street.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to sound like you're extending your speech or you're yelling, you go out and sit in the mud with your hurdy-gurdy, and you just blast, and it's all straight tone. So this thing that many classical singers still hold true, less and less though, is that classical singing is really singing. And non-classical singing or commercial or contemporary styles, or pop styles, they have different names, is not really singing. It's a kind of talking, and that it's not highly viewed. Having said that, in the last 20 years, the organization called the National Association of Teachers of Singing, which traditionally was always classical, are more and more and more and more open to all the things we can do with our voice. Yeah. And so the singing teachers who, let's say you love to sing and you want to pursue it at a college level, right? You go to a college, you will be studying classical voice. And your teachers will be classical singers. You will sing classical. Now you're out in the world, or you have your own students, and they've never heard of classical singing.
Why would they?
Why would they? They've never heard it before. They think it sounds weird.
Yeah.
But you've been trained that only classical is safe. And again, it's changing rapidly now, but there's this feeling that belting or singing in a...
Gotta hear all these terms all the time, yes.
That it's harmful, that you'll destroy your voice. I was told as a teenager, if I did anything but classical, I would lose everything I'd worked for, that I'd been working on since the age of 7. It's not true, but there's a lot of fear there was a lot of fear in traditional classical training that anything but classical was dangerous. And so I found a place for myself because with classical training, and I've sung in opera and classically based musical theater, I'm very comfortable singing that way. It's very much part of my muscle memory. And but I wanted to learn about other styles. I wanted to know about how to sing like all the great singers I grew up with, who I heard on the radio, who never had a lesson. And I thought, can't do that. How could it be that I've had all this training and I can't do that sound on my high notes? I always still sound like a classical singer on my high notes. So after I got my master's degree in classical voice, after I'll do a lot of composition and classical piano, I've been writing songs since I was 11. Kind of like Elton John or Joni Mitchell, kind of, or Carole King kind of things. All about love, of course, and very romantic stuff. And I almost quit after I got out of school because I was so frustrated. And I think this may have pertinence to other people about when you feel you have skills, but you're frustrated somehow, is that you either quit and move on to something else, or you try to figure it out. Like, what is frustrating? Might there be something wrong with a traditional approach? Can I solve these questions? Can I come to solutions of questions I have? And I haven't really quit. Like when I go to research, I get totally hooked up with, electrodes and accelerometers and MRI machines and any equipment I can get. The lab is kind enough to let me use for my own purposes so that I can validify or disprove some of my theories about what's really going on. In the end, though, it's not about technique. It's about when I sing, do I feel like my heart has lifted? Do I feel like I'm connected to another universal source? I just saw the most wonderful quote by Chaka Khan, which is something like, I saved it, when I sing, I feel like I'm connected to the universe. I think that's what she said. And I thought that I know that feeling.
Yes, I absolutely know that feeling. Yeah. Even on the way over, it's, in an hour drive. And I regret some of the choices that I made on the singing because I have the little rattle in my throat right now. A lot of death metal on the way over. But sometimes it doesn't feel like what I want to sing. Like I'm not connecting to some elements of that. There are elements of a tangible sorrow or this beautiful grief, or sometimes I want to sing a love song. And on the way up, I started off with some beautiful grief and I said, no, that's not where I am. And I felt way more connected when I started singing about love. And it was, I'm no good at it. Let me take that back.
True?
Let me take that back. I'm not as practiced in those vocal styles.
Much better.
Thank you. I'm channeling our prior conversations.
And why we put ourselves down so much.
Oh, it's a safety thing, isn't it?
It is, but I also was reading an article that prior to the arrival of phonographs, families used to sing. There was nothing else to do at night. You have a middle-class family, they have a piano.
Yeah.
And they would stand around the piano and everyone would sing and not be judgy.
My cousins still do that, and I'm a little jealous.
I am too.
A little jealous.
What a wonderful way
Yeah.
to have family cohesion and joy.
Yeah.
But then the phonographs started. Now they're starting to hear trained singers or really good singers singing really difficult music. And that's when people started to say, well, I sing in the shower with great shame. They say that. They still do. They're like, oh, you still sing in the shower. I said,
no shame. I love singing. The acoustics are fantastic.
And there's a reason we sing in the shower. Plus all that nice moisture.
Yes. Keeps it all lubricated.
A little tip here, by the way, for our listeners who are interested in singing. There's an interesting number that somebody found in science. It's 40%. So when the humidity around us is lower than 40%, the air is actually sucking moisture off your vocal folds, and they must be wet to do stuff, particularly high notes. So if it's, like it is here in California in the fall with the Santa Ana winds, and it's, we had the big fires and it was like 15% humidity, best not to sing because you'll get hoarse real fast.
Yeah.
It's hard to sing when your cords are dry and it wears them out, and you will not enjoy singing and you'll get sore quite quickly. So having when I've sung in Houston, 70% humidity.
Or
It
more.
felt like breathing felt like velvet. I
Yes.
came back to LA and I felt like breathing was comparatively like little shards of glass.
I was thinking sandpaper, but sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you don't know that unless you compare it to singing in a humid environment.
Yeah. You mentioned the high notes requiring more moisture or more lubrication. And I found the exact same when trying to play with like a low rattle or a growl. If you really want to have body to the growl, you need those vocal folds to be well lubricated.
You really need for any kind of voice use
Yeah.
where you don't go hoarse quickly. You really need. And I liken the tissue that surrounds the vocal cords like the inside of your cheek, which is kind of interesting. If you take your finger and you stick it and you go, it's really spongy and it's always wet.
Yes.
That gives people an idea of what is actually vibrating. Another little thing that people don't realize, that I didn't realize or think about, was that the vocal folds do not vibrate themselves. We think they do. We think, I'm going to make sound, and then they hit each other. But they don't. We can close them, we can lengthen them, we can shorten them, but they don't vibrate themselves. They only vibrate because we hit them with a steady stream of pressurized air.
Sure.
Like wind in a sailboat.
Yeah.
It's not just air hitting them, the pressure is the key. If the pressure is not enough in the outgoing airstream, the vocal folds will not vibrate. Or they will vibrate, but there'll be a lot of squeezing. So when people sing and go, I feel like I'm choking, or my jaw gets tight, my tongue gets tight, my head pulls, my head twists, I make faces, my neck, I feel like somebody's, squeezing the top of my neck. All of these things are what I call under the heading of compensatory tension. They're all trying to help the cords vibrate. So I'm a big proponent of posture and support. Support meaning, what do I do in my chest and my abdomen to make sure that the airstream leaving my lungs is the right pressure and that it's steady pressure.
Yeah.
And then all that other stuff that people can spend years trying to relax. It's not, singing is an action. You're not relaxed. You just have to give the proper work. And I think that also has a metaphor for life. It just don't relax. Like meditation is a good example. And you've done a lot of that, I know. It's work.
Yes.
It's not just, I'm going to sit there and go to sleep. I'm not going to just relax. There's a kind of focus of work and to get the results you're looking for. And it's the same thing with the vocal folds. Another thing people don't realize about the folds is that they're the only thing you can injure. People who sing are often, they worry about everything. They worry about their nose and if we're going to worry, let's focus our worry in a precise way and then develop strategies to minimize the injury. So humidity is one thing, whether it's singing in a humidified environment or having a little portable USB-powered humidifier, which I travel with.
I've never even heard of those. That's amazing.
Well, a lot of singing teachers will have a humidifier, and
Sure.
If it's under 40%, they'll turn the humidifier on.
But for a little USB, is that
yeah.
like a little one of those little asthma
I
deals?
use, and maybe I need to have them send me a little money for this, but Vocal Mist is my favorite. Vocal Mist is I think the website is myvocalmist.com. It's my favorite. It's like the shape of a big lipstick.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I can move, can't I?
You can, please. You are mobile.
I'm ambulatory.
Yes.
So let me see if I had one here, and you can see my my Vocal Mist. It's really cute too.
Zero apologies to anybody listening because it's on me that this isn't on video. Oh, it does look like
a big lipstick.
Yeah.
And, it's got a mask, or I just use the mouth
smart.
thing. And it comes with the saline vials because straight water doesn't work. So this is purified water with enough salt that matches our body's salt content. And then you push the button and then, it's dry.
Okay.
And then you just put the water in there and then you just suck on it and
it's going to mist and it's going to
mists in
hydrate
your mouth and it hydrates the vocal folds. So
I'm way too easily impressed, but that's very cool.
And it's got the little USB.
To recharge it,
Mhm.
that tracks.
And it's lightweight, so I travel when I doing workshops or research, just in case it's dry there. So hacks. In fact, I'm doing a workshop for it's called the Voice Study Center UK. Doing 2 workshops with them this summer. The first one is called Vocal Hacks: How to Solve Common Vocal Problems. Because people can get really, as you know, people can get really upset
Mm-hmm.
when they want to sing and it's not, doesn't sound good. I don't think it's good. It's not as good as it could be.
Well, the voice is a very personal aspect. And if you're up there performing with your voice, if you cannot do it,
It makes people crazy.
It
It really
does.
makes them so insecure about
Absolutely.
many other aspects of their life. I've been through it. I struggled with my voice, all those questions I had, things that I knew could be better. And now, even at my age, I can fly into some country and with just a couple of those and
Yeah.
a couple of those, check my voice out. I can sing any style
Yeah.
on at the push of a button, and
On
I
demand.
love that. I feel like I worked to get to that point where your voice does what your brain wants it to do. It isn't this the voice. It isn't this other thing. It isn't this other thing. It just obeys you, and what a
Yeah.
thrill! What a thrill that is.
Well, and you've then managed to get past what I think prevents a lot of folks from continuing in a vocal career or pursuing it even for fun, is that vulnerable aspect, because the voice is also very much associated with vulnerability, especially in singing where you're expressing. Even if you're expressing things that you might not be embodying or feeling, it's suggestive that you are experiencing these emotional states. And I think as people, and maybe this is a personal thing, maybe it's not, but the vulnerability of showing the expressions of emotion that are within the range of a song can be very difficult. It can be unsettling, is my experience of it.
Hmm. I wonder if that, I don't know if that's true for
I
people
don't
who
know.
do it a lot or where it's a job.
I suspect it's not. And I think that's part of what you get through as the first time you're on stage, you're terrified. What's the source of that judgment? Is it that you're not good enough, or is it that you're showing too much of yourself? Is it a combination of all of these insecurities? And then you start to build up a routine and you start to get that surge of adrenaline and you're like, oh, I'm doing this. They're cheering, or they're at least not running away.
But if that
Like,
happens again and again and
yeah,
again, your confidence grows, and it's just one more of the many skills that we might have.
yeah.
Now, the tricky part is if you do it for a living,
I'm curious about this.
yeah, does it get old? Do you lose the joy? Do you lose the vulnerability? Do you phone it in?
Did you find yourself phoning it?
I never did it enough. I never did like I never had a cruise ship job, where I'm
Sure.
singing and performing
The same set
the
for
same,
400 nights
in
in a
a
row.
club, with
Yeah.
the cover band, or I never did bar mitzvahs and weddings, so I can't speak to that.
Okay.
So there's still for me a novelty when I do sing. It's a novelty, but I don't think I would enjoy it as much if I had to do it all the time. I think it would lose some. So there's something about that specialness
Yeah.
and that little edge that makes it more fun too.
Yeah. I used to go to a lot of shows and I would always find ways to end up just chatting with the bands or the performers or whoever back at the merch booth, because metal bands are way accessible.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
oh yeah, it's great. They're usually the ones selling their own merch.
Okay.
And they're so happy. Well, okay, I'm projecting. They seem so happy to talk to fans that are interested. And every once in a while, a set will remove one of their big songs, their big hits. And it's because they just did a world tour for 2 years. And come on, man, we're tired of closing with that song. And I can say, oh, I've never seen you guys before. Why aren't you playing? I was talking with the guys from Brand of Sacrifice, and they weren't playing Animal, which was my favorite song of theirs. And I didn't want to give them grief, but I was also sort of surprised and disappointed. And it's one of those, they played it for 2 years straight. Come on, kid, we can't right now. I say kid, I'm twice their age. Little projection. But it's interesting because to them it was this grind, and they may have lost the joy of that song, which had brought them some level of notoriety. And they had the wherewithal to say, this isn't, in the Marie Kondo approach that
It's
you
not
mentioned
sparking
earlier,
any joy.
it's not sparking joy. And so they're doing it for themselves. And I respect that.
Mhm.
And I think that's sort of what you're speaking to. But in your case, you had the fortune not to have the grind.
Yes, I think I would have, if I had written, when I was writing songs in the 80s, with the goal of being a big pop star, but I had a limit, a time limit I'd set for myself. I know, meaning it wasn't like an actual calendar date, but it was a limit. I didn't want to be 40 and bitter like I'd seen some female rock singers who'd put everything they had into being, and then all of a sudden they're 40 and traditional rock music is no more and it's rap or whatever. So I saw from them, I just thought that, back to the not wanting to have regrets. So I really gave it my all from 81, and then I quit in 87. So doesn't seem like that much, but and I had interest from a couple of record labels at that point, and I just did, and it wasn't the grind that I was concerned about. I felt like I was watching some people like Madonna, who was coming up at that time, and I thought, oh, I may be too happy to continue. That if you have enough damage, it can drive you to just keep going and be bold and be inappropriate and do whatever it takes to get attention. And I thought, I'm kind of too together. I don't have, my mother didn't die when I was little, or I had loving parents. I didn't feel rejection and therefore need love. I don't need to substitute parental love for audience love. So
Sure.
I thought,
You took some risks, though.
I took it, but only because my parents supported me
Okay.
in all ways through that time, so I could really devote myself to writing songs. And when I quit in 87, I had finally done a demo that I was really proud of. I still am proud of it. The first 3 songs on my Spotify channel. And I wrote the songs, I played all the instruments, and I sang on them. And I still think they make me dance. They're very 80s, and 2 dancey ones, Enchanté and Right by You. And then there's a ballad that I still think is a kind of a classic ballad called Who Knows Where We're Going. And those 3 songs, at least I was able to achieve a personal goal of, I want to write songs that I think are hits, that really showcase me, that don't have a lot of other influences in them, meaning, session musician.
Sure.
And there weren't any females who were playing. I mean, it was all synth, but there weren't any females who were writing and playing the instruments and singing at that level. And so that allowed me to quit better, with a little more impunity, with a little less bitterness. I still had a little bit.
It's okay.
But there's just pros and cons to everything.
And you got to create, and you got to put something into the world that
I had my shot, and I'm so grateful that I had a shot. I remember when I started onto that path, my dad said, Lisa, the music business is full of disappointment and heartbreak. I said, I do know that, Dad, but I would really like to give this a try. I felt like I had all the ingredients.
Yeah.
And he said, no problem, that's fine. And he was always even on his deathbed, he was like, my nickname was Deed. Hey, Deed, how's the music going? I said, it's really going well, Dad. It's the last I ever spoke to him. And so I gave it my best shot, and then it was onward to something else. And I thought, what am I going to do now? Well, how about video production? Maybe it won't be quite as personal.
Yeah.
And it's creative, and I'd already done videos and knew something. So I'd have to go to these locations that, be at a location outdoors in the cold at 5 in the morning, being a PA and craft services. And it's like, oh, and being yelled at by really neurotic directors because they had to yell at somebody. So I was nearby. So I did that for a while, and I thought, well, that's not it either. And then everything changed in one serendipitous moment. I get a call from someone I don't know. He's brand new, just got a job at a Southern California community college. Their singing teacher at the college had passed away. He taught both a classical voice class and pop class. And this gentleman, who I will forever be grateful for, had just started the job as head of this music department. And so he asked his wife, who I had gone to Cal Arts with, gone to school with, and she said, well, why don't you call Lisa? So I show up after a long day on location, probably dirty.
Yes.
And in some inappropriate clothing for being a teacher. And I stood up there and I opened my mouth to this, 35 people. And all this stuff came out. And I went, wow, this is it. And at the end of the class, several people said, Lisa, you're really good at this. And I went, that was, wow. I knew that everything I'd ever been interested in, from language to acting to dance to recording to songwriting to performing to mic technique to piano playing to music theory. I mean, all these things I had done since I was a little girl, I could now do something that wasn't selfish. It was to help other people achieve their goals, just like I had wanted. I would have wanted me as a teacher.
Yeah.
Who had all these different dilettante interests.
And was passionate about them enough and could tie them all into a package that made sense. It's what a moment to recognize that all the things that you had fascination with could then be made useful.
Yes. And
so
I
the
thought,
people around
this
you.
is it. This is what I was 35. I said, it's like falling in love at 35. And you just go, oh, finally, this is the one, this was the one in terms of, I always wanted a career. This is the one I can do. And I can do this until I'm toes up. I don't have to be able to sing to do it, though hopefully I will be in my 90s and can still sing. My teacher, my very early teacher, passed. She was still giving lessons when she passed away. She passed away at her piano bench, That's the way you do it when you're a music teacher. You do it until they take you in the ambulance. I think that's so cool.
That tracks. And I'm sort of shivering over here. I'm imagining the feeling of recognizing that you found what you love for the rest of your life and how powerful and just freeing that must feel.
I was so relieved. And because I come from an entrepreneurial family, I thought, well, I didn't get the marketing gene that my dad and my brother had, but I felt like, well, I can, be an entrepreneur. And this was way before the internet. So in the internet, anybody can be a voice teacher, no credentials, no experience, no vocal ability,
right?
Just a couple of exercises or a nice personality. I mean, anyone could say anything. But when you're starting a vocal training business, when people have to come to your house or you have to go to their house if they're celebrities, and
it sounds like there's a story there. I heard that laugh.
It didn't happen.
Okay.
It happened that much. But where you're creating your own business, your own brand, and you feel like you're helping people achieve their dreams in all these different styles. It's not just the same styles. And because I grew up with so many exercises vocally, and I found that didn't really make me a better singer. But I did it because I was the student and that's what the teacher. So my approach is much more mechanical. Maybe not for everybody, but if people want to be better quickly, well, then it's mechanical and you just do these little things. Like I was saying this, my class coming up in June, Vocal Hacks, is sometimes even long-standing, this also has relevance to life, sometimes even long-standing problems can be fixed with some weird thing or weird thought, weird experience.
This one weird trick
can make the problem that seemed inscrutable and immutable, um, the thing is you have to do it a lot to ingrain the new habit, and a lot of people don't do that, and so they just, they go, oh, that's amazing, and then you never see them again, and they're not going to incorporate it. But that's their problem. The hack is there, and so I've spent a lot of time amassing hacks for all kinds of really frustrating problems that people have with the hard part of vocal technique, often related to high notes, often related to how do I sing this number of hours without being a horse the next day.
I think about that.
It's a thing, it's a thing that. The other thing is belting. This is the big hot topic: is how do I take my talking voice, chest voice, up high, where I'm not hurting my vocal cords, where I can do it push button, with ease. And so I'm out there speaking to conferences around the world and workshops. I'll be in Rome in October. I'll be back in Istanbul next spring doing workshops. And a lot of the people who come are doctors. They're surgeons, they're ENTs, they're outside the U.S. They're called phoniatricians. They're working with singers all the time, but a lot of them sing and a lot of them don't sing, and they're really interested in commercial styles. And so I have often doctors who come, and it makes me feel really validated when they say, Lisa, I always come to your workshops when I can because I always learn so much. And I go, thank you. It just makes me feel good because they have their skill set.
Right.
And they're working with a community of singers who often don't really know what they're doing. They just are good.
I think that's most singers.
Most singers, they don't really, and if they sing great and they're not having problems,
Cool.
Wonderful.
They have no problems to fix. We're good.
No problems to fix. So I'm just a solution type person, and I don't teach what they don't need. I don't teach a method that everybody gets the same thing every time they come in. Oh, it's like, what are we working on today? There's so much beyond vocal technique. How do I sell a song? How do I make people cry? How do I make this song my own? How do I make it better than so-and-so? Is there a way I can bring my own life to this? How can I write my own songs? I work with songwriting. I write songs for my students based on the style they want to do. I want to make their songwriting dreams come true. But they're not musicians. So
Right.
whatever it takes.
And it sounds from both this and from good grief, a conversation we had 6 years ago, it sounds like you take a very individualized approach to helping or supporting each of these singers. You had mentioned
Some people want to know everything, which is interesting. They want to know, if I had a brain,
yeah,
a little implant,
that'd be nice.
they would take it. Other people, they just have one problem,
Yeah,
one audition coming up, one song they need to master for whatever reason.
I resemble that too. Okay. Yeah.
So it's every kind of person. So, but you still guess as a teacher, are they going to come just this once? Are they going to, you never know.
Or even supporting on a tour with backup singers, and each of them comes to you with different issues day of show. Or I think you had mentioned a lot of singers have gastroesophageal reflux problems.
Yes. And I had it too.
Yeah,
So
I used to
have
have it. I don't anymore.
Yeah, it's manageable. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily fixable
Right.
aside from surgery, but it's manageable. So because I had it related to hormones, a reduction in estrogen. A lot of doctors don't know
Interesting.
that when a woman hits menopause, they can start getting reflux. Not all, but they can start getting bad reflux because the estrogen helps with I know this sounds fancy, but the tonicity of the sphincter. So the
esophageal sphincter
the lower
specifically.
esophageal sphincter can become flappy
Yep.
when the estrogen lowers. Also, the bladder, there's a sphincter in the bladder. So a menopausal woman might find that she's more incontinent, like, can't make it to the bathroom. Start taking, if possible, bioidentical hormone replacement, which is what I've done since I was 51. Because I said, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be with a student and have brain fog.
Right.
I'm not going to have a hot flash in front of a student. It's too embarrassing. Now
Sure.
it's like everyone laughs about it, but
Yeah.
excuse me a second, I need to put my head in the freezer. Be right back. No, but
Well, that's
it was
amazing.
really helped my reflux. And then you just learn what you need to do or not do.
Yeah.
And and there's actually some things you can get online very inexpensively that I recommend that can work in a week to help people. There's stuff called alginic acid.
Okay.
And alginic, have you ever heard of that?
No, I'm
So
repeating it to
alginic
myself.
acid it's like algae, but it's dry. And so there's certain preparations that you can get online that you chew them and then you eat a little bit of water and it creates a raft. It's like the algae then creates a little foamy raft and it mechanically keeps stomach contents from shooting up your
Sure. Through the
esophagus
weakened
when you're laying
esophageal
down.
sphincter. Sure.
Mhm. And then the vocal cords can heal and not be
Right.
so red and swollen.
It's, I'm super interested in the estrogen predicate to the esophageal weakness and the flapping as you sort of described it. For myself, I think it was largely meditation helped a bunch. And I say that as a precursor to managing stress, which there's that gut brain discussion we had where the stress can also cause stomach issues, increased acid production. And then that leads to everything we've just spoken about, as well as dietary function or dietary shifts supporting the function of the digestive system. Now I have brain fog.
Let me
maybe I
get
need
my
some-
estrogen.
Yeah,
for you.
let's
Okay,
dose up
let me
here.
get-
I'll get the vein ready. We'll just go on straight main line. Bad joke.
That was funny.
Now thinking about the hormonal elements to it is interesting. And I wonder if they're all interconnected. I suspect they probably are.
They might not be.
No?
No,
Okay.
they might not be. It might
Okay.
not be one problem, one solution,
Sure.
different problem, different solution.
Sure. And I tend to, part of my work is in systems and data analysis. And so I start trying to understand how the interconnected elements might be. And I should probably look this up before I speak about it too much.
Well,
But stress
but stress
influencing,
with, yes, the stress.
influencing hormonal balance, I think
Oh, I
seems,
see what you mean. Do
yeah,
you think there's a relationship?
I don't know. And that's I have a curious point there.
It is. I've never thought about that because my only experience with it has been with women
Yeah.
between the ages of 49 and 52.
Okay, that's fair.
And you just see it again. And I just see it again and again. And they never make the connection between lowered estrogen and why they're having more reflux.
Yeah. And
Just not
I'm
an
thinking
obvious-
about stressors in certain cases reducing hormonal production. Too much stress, you might not have enough estrogen. Sometimes too much stress can then also result in lower fertility rates, which is largely predicated on hormonal balances and how those all might affect each other. I've heard of high stress creating reduced testosterone in men. And so, yeah, and so I'm sort of piecing all this together real time as we talk through it.
It's interesting, and I'm sure there are people out there who definitely have looked into this.
First, there's a new curiosity.
Oh,
Okay.
boy. Put it on the list.
Thanks, Lisa.
I know one more thing to look into.
But so you've moved yourself into this position where you're actually researching large elements of the voice.
There's so many unanswered questions still about function, about how things work. One of them is vibrato. Back in my day, vibrato nothing was known about it. And it was considered this thing that appears. I think I liken it to a little butterfly that lands on your shoulder when you're quote unquote hooked up, whatever that meant. I'm assuming that meant when your support is accurate and your voice works for you, then your vibrato will come.
Okay.
But then they didn't have.
That doesn't
enough
sound replicable.
details.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, well, okay, how do I do that? And I had to figure that out myself. So that's one thing. And the research that I'm aware of that's been done on vibrato is basically I'm going to sing into a computer program and it's going to show me the squiggly lines of the pitch moving up and down. And it'll give me the excursion of the pitch and it'll show me how fast, how many times per second the pitch is. And that's important and that's useful. But I'm interested in what makes vibrato, and it has to do with the muscles in the neck area and maybe the tongue as well. So a few weeks ago when I was in Chile, I was hooked up to it's called EMG, electromyography. And there's two ways that EMG is done in a clinical setting or a hospital setting. It's to see if muscles are on or off. That's all it shows. One way is you can put electrodes on the surface of the skin,
Okay.
and that's what we did. And it can see if a muscle is working on or off. And the other way that I haven't done yet, but I want to do, it's on my dream list, is needle. It's called needle hook. And they take tiny needles about the size of a hair, so very tiny needles.
Okay, this sounds less terrifying than I first imagined.
Yeah, it's a little terrifying, but they're supposedly they're really tiny. And I'm not going to put them in my vocal cords because it can create bruising, and I don't want to deal with that. But I have suspicions about which muscles are active when I do vibrato, because it does vary in people. But at least it would give us a beginning for other people doing research in this, that yes, this needle hook EMG or topical EMG, surface EMG, I forgot what they called it in Chile, can see that these particular muscles, I'm just going to throw it out there for any nerds who might be listening. I'm wondering if it's the digastric, the anterior belly of the digastric, and the omohyoid and various glossus muscles. In my workshops, I actually go around the room and have people touch my neck in a certain spot. And when I do one vibrato type you can feel the muscles alternating, and that creates a rocking of the voice box.
Yeah.
One of the the vibrato is more complex than that, but it's very interesting for people to feel the on and off of these muscles that are creating a puppet-like effect of the voice box, which to me is audible. I can hear when people are doing this rocking sound. And if they're not rocking enough for the particular style they're singing, I'll just do that Hawaiian shaka hand motion, and then they'll do that.
Okay.
And then another vibrato I do, my little bone, we all have these little bones, little horseshoe-shaped bones under the tongue. I can actually feel it moving forward and backwards.
Yeah.
And those same muscles that were alternating before are actually moving simultaneously. And I tell my students, I said, I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm just making a sound. And these are almost always singing teachers that are feeling this. And no one has ever said, feel this.
Yeah.
And notice, and then can you do it? Just different. So I do workshops and presentations on just vibrato, on different kinds of vibrato types, how you can make them faster or slower. Yeah. Just because there's a hole in the market.
And this all tracks with what you were saying earlier on in the discussion, where nobody's thinking to check what they're feeling in their throat or in their neck.
The center of the action.
Right.
There's much to be learned by touching, not just feeling your vocal cords. Yeah. So I can feel thick vocal cords, thin vocal cords. I can feel when I'm pressing them. I can feel when they're longer and shorter. And I teach people how to do that because we can. It's interesting. It's the center of the action. And you can help protect your vocal cords by never pressing them. How do you know? Because you can feel when they press or squeeze. But if you don't know, because you have no brain connection, you haven't built up any neurons connecting it,
right?
You're more likely to hurt yourself.
There was something actually that you would give me feedback on during the coaching training session, where my approach to vibrato was to move my whole head.
Oh yes.
And apparently that's a common thing. And you were saying, no, just do that in your throat instead. And that was madness to me. I had never even considered it because I just because
it worked.
Yeah.
Because it helped helped the larynx move up and down.
Correct.
So it's wiggling up and down. And then the voice box itself can have, and this I'd probably have to put needles in to see, but in most vibratos, the top part of the voice box tilts down in like a visor of a medieval knight. It's like a guy who's doing his visor up and down real fast.
Yes.
And then there's a bottom part, and that might be wiggling up and down. So there's a bunch of wiggling going on, but just you're going to feel wiggling in your neck.
Yeah.
Is key to a lot of people unlocking their vibrato or having a better, maybe slower vibrato instead of being kind of really fast. So that's one of the topics I'm looking at. I've got lists. Another one is vocal registers. I think that chest voice, head voice,
Yeah.
the concept of mix is really confusing, and nobody agrees on it.
And everybody talks about it as though they understand it perfectly.
And right now I have of the word mix, which I don't like.
Hey.
I think I have 17 different definitions on a list. Anyone who wants to contact me through my website, if you want to see, and you've heard of mix and you go on, you're like, you know what? I'm going to admit, I really don't know what it is. Or you may feel like you know what it is. And if it's different than my list, let me
Cool.
know. I want to add it to my list. I just think that when a word means nothing or it means, I shouldn't say that. Let me go back.
Yeah.
That if a word means everything that I'm not sure of, it's like in a bucket term, then it really means nothing.
We're getting very hand wavy, right? As we're trying to describe I'm adding on to this, basically saying if a word means everything, then we're just hand waving.
Yes.
We're making it, oh, you guys understand this. We don't have to go into the details.
Don't have to, exactly. And it's a way for people to not have to admit, I don't really know what mix is. And so at this
point, I'm too afraid to ask.
And I'm too afraid, and whether it's a student or a teacher, a student, I was too afraid to ask for what is this word? What do you, because I didn't want to be rude and confront an esteemed teacher. So I didn't, all my growing up years, I didn't know what vibrato was. I know what it sounds like, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what chest voice and head voice really were. And so my research now is pretty groundbreaking because and I won't go into the heavy detail for those listeners who kind of don't want to hang up yet, but aren't really that interested in singing. But
hey, I'm interested. We're good.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's all about okay. But also, I think a lot of people are. They don't. God, I love singing. I don't know anything about singing, and learning about singing is wild because it's really different.
And we can all do it.
And we can all do it. It's all part, and we all have a unique voice that no one on the planet has and never will have again. And I have worked with triplets even, and twins, and and they all have a unique sound. They shouldn't, but they do.
That's
They're not
wild.
exactly the same. They have slightly different personalities, maybe slightly different frames, a slightly different jaw.
Yeah.
All the holes in your head give you your unique voice.
Sure.
And even identical twins can have, I don't know why or how it could be, but they're not identical. And so that's always been fascinating to me. So I'll give you the nutshell version. So a register has always been considered that chest voice, this sound I'm making now, is for low notes, and head voice is for high notes.
Oh.
And used mostly by women in opera. When I'm singing opera, it's, women sing in mostly head voice, men sing, and even opera sing mostly in chest voice. So it's always been thought of that chest voice is for low, and it's heavy, and it's loud, and it vibrates my chest, and that's why they call it chest voice. And head voice is for high notes, and I feel vibration in my head.
Right.
Turns out that's not true. I can do any note of my range in either. I can take head voice to my very lowest note, and I can take chest voice to my very highest note. So I teach registers as vocal fold vibrational patterns you can see with special cameras called high-speed cameras.
Sure.
And what I've seen so far, at least in my own voice, is that when I'm doing chest voice, the chords are clapping. And when I'm doing head voice, they're undulating. Regardless of how high or low the pitch is, regardless of where I feel vibration, and regardless of the sound that I make coming out of my mouth, that to me, chest voice, and I don't even use that term much, has nothing to do with your chest, and head has nothing to do with your head. It's just a different way that the vocal cords can vibrate, and that you don't have to think of this old-fashioned vertical model with some mystery in between of what we call mix, because I'm not really sure. Is it a combination of the two? Is it do I just mean a smooth transition between the two? Does it mean a light, high chest voice like that? A lot of people call that
whisper
mix.
tone.
I'm singing in my mix. Or chest mix. It's just
Yeah.
chest voice, but up high. So to me, chest can be all kinds of sounds, but it's all based on speech.
Yep.
And head voice are all kinds of sounds, not based on speech. Based on, like, if you giggle, it's that
Yeah.
sound, or an owl. It's not the sound that we speak with. And I can do it on any note of my range.
Yeah.
So I just did still working on a project in the University of Wisconsin at Madison with students there. I went to Madison, Wisconsin. We had 5 females and 5 men, and all, I would call them semi-professional because they're not out in the world there, but they're in school and
they're dedicating
experienced,
serious time to
and
it.
they're very serious about it. And some are very, very good. And so the research was how many and who could do the task of head voice to their lowest note and chest voice to their highest note. And not everybody could do it.
Interesting.
So we're crunching the data now. And I want the researchers to do statistical analysis to look at, well, let's see if we can find a pattern. You would love this.
I would.
Can we find a pattern? I should send you the material.
Please do.
Can we find it? Because he just sent me the statistics, and I don't do statistics, so I said that's your lane.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to see if we could find age. Was there any correlation between the successful ones and their age or level of experience, or how many years they'd studied voice, or how adept they were at non-classical singing, where had they only studied classical, to see if there was any correlation with the ones who could do the task, meaning chest voice to their highest note, head voice to their lowest note, and the ones who couldn't. We might see no patterns. I did not, just being there for that one day in the lab, I did not see what I had expected to see. I thought,
how cool is that, by the way?
It's disappointing.
Okay, fair. And also, that means there's more room to learn.
More room to learn, and maybe I am a unicorn. Some people in the conference world, they say, you're this unicorn. You can do things other people can't do. And I said, it's not true. I show my students how to do this all the time, and I do.
Right.
And if I'm working with really high-level singers, they can do this task.
Right.
So why did this not happen? Some were getting sick. I knew that they were singing a lot. They were performing that week. Might that have played a part in it? That's not on the questionnaire, so I can't look to correlate that. So when you do science, you always risk that your hypotheses are wrong, that not as many people can do what you think they can do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that just the idea that they can take chest voice, once I show them my techniques, that they can take it as high as they did is mind-blowing for all of them.
I'm sitting here a little mind-blown. I keep trying to feel into it myself as you're describing it.
It's easy.
It's super interesting.
It's actually easy, but it's not intuitive.
Yeah.
You have to do certain things to have your vocal cords do the task. And taking head voice to the low note, super easy.
Really?
It's so easy and so freaky that the people go, that's so weird. I know, I said, but people don't realize that it's humanly possible because we're trained that we can only do chest voice on low notes. But that comes from the hegemony, this rule-oriented idea that came from classical singing that became all singing. And it's not, it's just that one thing. So I love having things that people can try and be delighted about. Like, I didn't know I could do that, and it didn't hurt. I go, yeah, it sounded great. But you can't do it unless either you're really talented and you just do it just can do it, or that you need the hacks. You need the tricks so you can do it where it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And it's shockingly easy, and it's quite thrilling.
Well, and there's something really interesting about the idea of being able to do a thing that you didn't know you weren't supposed to be able to do. And as long as you walk into it, you're good. As long as you walk into it without expecting that you can or can't do something, you just try it. Well, you're going to do something different than all these trained professionals will, because you don't have those hangups. You don't have that dogmatic approach to what we can do.
And there's still a bit of that lingering.
And it leads to new branches of inquiry. which
Yes,
expands
and new
science.
colors, new ways of thinking about singing, and where it's not fear-based.
Yeah.
Again, if you protect your vocal cords from squeezing or
Good way to put
banging
it.
hard, or you don't sing too loud for too long, you can do lots of things with your voice fearlessly, and you always check in. I say, do you have happy vocal cords? I know it's so stupid, but it works. Like, it always, keep checking in with your vocal cords. Are they happy? If they're not happy, here are some other hacks so that they work with a minimum of effort, and you can do whatever this thing is that we're experimenting with. So registers, I'm continuing, and I probably will continue working with registers and range. There's an ancillary topic. It's that singers often don't know which notes their vocal cords can make. And I find that wild. And I know many
Really?
fabulous singing teachers who do not find out what their student's range is. So the student does not know what their range is. And I liken it to, or my analogy is, let's say you were a model. When you're a model, you must know your height, your weight, your eye color, minimum. And they want to know your age too.
And probably various proportions and
in certain proportions. But at minimum, you know your height, your weight, and your eye color. Well, to me, knowing your at what I call absolute range, your real range, which notes can your vocal cords make?
yeah.
And that usually it's chest voice for the low note and head voice for the high note. Will
Unless
tell
you're
us which-
Lisa.
Hmm?
Unless you're Lisa.
Yeah. But I think I had one person who could actually take their head voice lower than their chest voice by one note. That was pretty freaky.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it was like, wait a minute, you're blowing my mind here. So it's really easy to find out what one's range is with the right little approach. And people always shortchange themselves about their range. Not everybody, but a large proportion of singers, even professional singers, shortchange themselves. They think of what their range is performable. Like, what can I rely on?
Right.
What is my... And then they might give themselves a little bit more for, like a psychological range.
Right.
But their actual range, what I call absolute range, might be much more and is often much bigger. So the average range, and I've done research on ranges, that what we came up with was that about 65% of singers that we had tested, a bunch of singing teachers and me many years ago, was about 65% of them had 3 1/3 octaves range, which is much bigger than people think they have. They just shortchange themselves because they don't know and they don't check and they're scared
That's fair.
and they don't want to be bad in performing. So just for the record, 3.5 octaves is either 41 semitones or 42 semitones. 40 or 41. 40 or 41. That's a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Now, people will say, well, I'm never going to be paid for that note. I said, that may be true. But if you know that's the note that your body can make.
What a funny way to think about it. Sorry.
But people are thinking, I'm never going to be asked to sing that note. I said, that may be true. But knowing that that's your note, now you can vocalize or exercise your range on a regular basis to the notes your vocal cords can make. And now all the adjacent notes are better because you're not ignoring them. So now you've extended your range. You had this big range to begin with, but you didn't know it. So a lot of people will come and say, I want to extend my range. I said, well, let's find out what your range is in the first place.
Got to be level 0. Yeah.
Right. And then you can, when I make an exercise for you, let's say a lip trill exercise, I'm going to do it for your unique range, not mine.
Right.
Not for what your psychological or your performable range is, but what your true range is. And it can change over the years. I used to have one range, still 41 semitones, but I used to have one range when I was 25. And by the time I was 45, I'd lost a note on top, but I'd added a note on the bottom. So I still have 41 semitones.
Right. That's cool.
There's something about that makes me feel like I know myself as a singer. It's part of taking the mystery out of singing and making me feel more confident. Because as you said earlier, confidence is a problem when you're doing something so judgmental and so vulnerable.
It's so intimate. like your voice is a very intimate piece of who you
It
are.
is your body, and we have to deal with sickness in ways that actors don't have to, that dancers don't have to, that instrumentalists don't have to deal with like we do, because we're either getting a cold or over a cold, or we have allergies, every little thing, the humidity. There's just so many things that affect our voice from day to day. Did I have reflux? How did I sleep last night? Did I eat too much? Did I eat too late? Did I have too much salt yesterday? Did I drink enough? Am I drinking too much? I mean, there's just so many things that affect the voice that make us feel insecure.
Yeah. There's one of the things that happens whenever I get, I don't know, something adjacent to bronchitis. I find that I can start to hit these really beautiful low notes, sort of akin to like a Peter Steele in Typo Negative, sort of a deep depth that still has this resounding beauty to it.
And then they're gone.
And then they're gone.
Yes.
So I milk those 3 days
Yes,
of
yes.
just depth.
I have an allergy F, I call it. So
Okay.
typically I have a low A,
Yeah.
which is quite a low note for a woman.
Yeah.
But when I have allergies, I have a solid low F. I've even met tenors. I've had tenors who didn't have a low F on a good day. So I enjoy that. I do the same. It's
Yeah.
like, this is cool.
It's so fun. I'll walk around the house just like, like just loving
And you
it.
just feel your whole thorax just vibrating.
It's a different
like a
vibration.
drum.
It feels new and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Even
there
if it's
are
hard
a
to
few
breathe.
perks to being sick, but not
Yes,
many.
yes.
Not many.
I always want that to stay. I'm like, I can do this. Yeah.
I really want to be a bass, but
Yeah.
maybe today I can be a fake bass today.
Let's do it. Be a fake bass. There's a question that I sort of have outstanding from a little bit earlier in our conversation about what we can do with our vocal folds. And you were saying, and this might go into the head voice, chest voice discussion, and this is curiosity and speculation on my part. All we can do is, how did you say this? We can tighten and relax, or how did you describe what we do with
with our brains, we can close the vocal folds. We can lengthen and shorten them. That's how when we think of a pitch in our brain,
Right.
the chords go to the right length
Right.
to make that note come out. The higher the note is, the
tighter.
longer. No, the other way. The longer. It's not like a piano string.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's where I
piano
was
string.
going, obviously.
Right, yeah, it's the opposite of that. So lower notes, the chords are shorter and more squished,
Yep.
and the higher notes are more thin and long.
That makes sense.
A better example would be a rubber band.
Yes.
If you take a rubber band and you stretch it and you ding it,
Yeah.
if you want the pitch to go higher, you stretch it. So the vocal cords are not bands, they're flaps, but it's the similar action, higher, lower, depending on how you pull or shorten the rubber bands.
And then when you were describing the undulations of the head, I might get this backwards.
the head
Undulations
voice.
of the head
Yeah, they
voice
look like
versus
a sea creature.
Yeah.
And they don't meet. So it's called parallel closure. They don't have a symmetrical closure.
Yeah.
And other things we found out in the research I did in the Czech Republic, are you impressed yet? Is
Totally.
that was the greatest, the greatest thing. I have a paper on it that I can barely understand because a brilliant grad student, or postdoc, I should say, did the paper, and it's just like, oh my, this is my magnum opus. This is going in the casket. This is if I never do any research again, this one paper from the journal was published in the Journal of Voice. I've done my bit for science. But anyway, what we found was that that the speed of the closure. Now this is really geeky, but that in chest voice, the speed of the closure was faster. And what that looks like, because I have video that I can send to anybody who wants to see it. When you see the vocal cords in chest voice, it looks like magnets that are attracting. Every time they open and close, they go like a.
Oh, so like a very right at the end,
they close quickly.
an increasing velocity. Got it.
But in head voice, it looks like magnets that are repelling.
Sure.
I mean, They look like they open fast, but they close slow.
Yeah.
So it looks like I use
Sort of the opposite effect
the
of the.
opposite effect. And that was true for all the notes that we looked at. And that hadn't, it had been spoken about before in the literature that the speed quotient is what it's called, was a factor, but we were surprised to see that of all the different things, the ingredients that were looked at, the only thing that was 100% consistent across all the notes that I looked at with a camera down my mouth were the speed, the faster speed for chest voice and slower closing speed for head voice. And you can see it in the high speed videos, and you can see by looking at it which one is which without knowing when you compare the two. And that hadn't been seen before.
And when feeling into the experience of a head voice versus chest voice, it does feel like it's along that vertical axis that you described, even though that's not the actual effect that's
No,
occurring.
it's not vertical. It doesn't feel vertical.
Oh, it does, because to me,
because
when I pull my voice up here.
Yeah, because you changed the pitch, you see. So
Got
let me
it.
clarify that.
Got it. Thank
Where
you.
you feel vibration when you sing is based on the pitch, mostly.
Okay.
So if you sing a low note,
Yeah.
you'll feel vibration.
Ooh,
Now do that in falsetto or head voice, but do it on a low note.
Ooh. Yeah, you're breaking my brain. Ooh. Sure.
You'll feel, so where we feel vibration is not as related to register, it's more related to pitch. So if I take chest voice really high, I'll feel vibration in my head.
Yeah.
In Chile, it was pretty funny. I've got
That's so
photos
fun.
of this. We put accelerometers on different parts of my hair, my forehead, the top of my hairline, the top of my head, and the back of my head for one experiment I wanted to do. I lost a little bit of hair and skin. We had all this, I was totally adhesived up.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, again, when you're going for science or beauty, sometimes you have to have some pain.
That's right.
It made me laugh, actually, when I wasn't screaming. Anyway, the point was, so we were looking at different kinds of places. I wanted to know if the vibration that I felt in my head was real or was it imaginary. And it turns out it was real.
Okay.
And they're doing, it could take them 6 months to a year to do all the analysis. But that was really cool, that that was not an illusion, that my scalp was vibrating in different places. But where you feel vibration on whether it's your nose, your lips, your teeth, your saw palate, your heart, is based on what's going on in your neck. It's based on your vocal cords, what they're doing, on the different things the larynx can do. The larynx is a fascinating little creature. It's like a clock in my mind. It's got all these little parts that can work separately or in combination. It's not just a box. It's full of little muscles. A few months ago, I had the honor of being asked to attend a laryngeal dissection at UCLA with some residents, some medical students, and I'd been around larynxes is probably the simpler way to say it. Plural larynx. There's a goat and pig and dog and humans. And so they had this guy's, he was dead obviously, and it was just his larynx, and it was really big. But the cords weren't that big. Usually if you have a big larynx, you have big cords, but he didn't. So that made me think that he had a higher voice than you would think.
Right.
Because the smaller your vocal cords, the higher your voice is, but the larynx was really big. And I watched them dissect this and try to identify the different pieces. Now I'm used to all the photos online that anyone can see, and everything's color-coded and clearly marked. It wasn't like that at all. It was this red, fleshy goo.
Yeah.
And there were things we didn't know what but it was really there. I was just, watching and seeing, well, is that this? Because I really want to be good with the anatomy of the larynx. And they were just taking a tiny knife and discussing, is this the superior laryngeal nerve? Is this the lateral cricoid? I mean, it was just all these, terms that, if you geek out on the medical aspects of voice. And there were times we just didn't know because it was just red mush. That was disappointing. I mean, it was thrilling but it was disappointing because I thought it would be
So clear,
so
so obvious.
clear, so clear. And it made me have a new respect for the fearlessness
Yeah.
of vocal surgeons, that they can get
Seriously.
in there and get stuff done that's of benefit, considering how everybody's is different shapes, different positions, and how gooey everything is. And
I suppose in that case, welcome to the human body, right?
yes,
Like-
yeah, pretty gooey, yeah.
We're pretty gooey.
Yeah.
Technical term, everybody.
Extra points for that one.
Extra points. That's right. Okay. Thank you. I was curious about that because I was still sort of stuck, I don't know, 40 minutes ago in the construct of how we're actually using our voice. I've not studied the anatomy of it outside of watching a couple of videos. I think I sent one to you where the guy's like,
yes, and that
throat
was
was
unique.
twisting.
So what you sent me was a guy who does extreme vocals, and he's looked at with a scope, not high speed, but a scope to see, and he had a lot of what's called asymmetry, where the I think it was the left side was totally asymmetrical and kind of curvaceous, and that was unique.
And it was leading to a torquing.
A whole torquing of, and so I've seen a lot of extreme vocal videos, and they're all different, and his was unique,
It's
not
fascinating.
typical.
Yeah.
Was so torquey, and it can be harmful because you can actually, if you do it loud enough, you're taking all these tissues that normally don't vibrate above the vocal fold. So it's all these other tissues that you can vibrate and learn to vibrate. And if you vibrate them really, really hard,
Yeah.
you can actually like dislocate
Yes.
a couple of these tiny little cartilages that make up the voice box. I'm not saying it's common, but it can happen. And you're just doing stuff to tissue that it's not built for.
Right.
And yet he didn't seem to have a very hoarse voice. The other guy we were listening to that I really like, Mark Garrett,
From, yeah.
beautiful singer. I want to
From
reach out to him.
Kardashev, right.
Kardashev. Beautiful singing. I think when you listen to someone who does extreme vocals and they can sing beautifully and lightly and float their voice on a high note with no trace of hoarseness in their speaking voice,
Yeah.
that's a person that you want to learn extreme vocals from. When you're studying extreme vocals and your teacher is hoarse and they don't have an attractive or healthy sounding speaking or singing voice, less likely. I mean, I still can learn things, and I have, but it puts up little flags for me about the healthfulness. Hoarseness is bad. Hoarseness is a sign of the vocal folds aren't happy.
Yeah.
They're swollen. There's some kind of swelling. It might be red swelling or not red swelling, but it's swelling. And just like when you have an injury to any part of your body, the body goes into protective mode and it swells. And the same thing with the vocal cords. So I once didn't take lessons with a teacher, but I watched a teacher work who was teaching extreme vocals and was really loud, heavy singing. And he was likening voice training to being in the gym, that you want to go.
I've heard this.
You want to go. You want to go past your comfort level. You want to go for the burn kind of a concept. And I just thought, this is not right. And he was hoarse.
Of course.
He had a damaged voice.
Yeah.
So the going for the burn, no, you burn, you stop.
And that tracks. And for reference, the video we were referring to is one featuring Will Ramos of Lorna Shore, previously of other bands, with the scope down his throat. One of the things that he talks about in a couple of interviews is not pushing, which is almost exactly what you're saying. Like, you're not trying to force too much through. You can do all of these techniques at a lower volume.
Yes.
Use the mechanical amplification that we have.
Yes.
Use the electronic elements that we have available to us to just increase the volume of what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. You use the microphone as your friend. So I teach that most singing is going to be, and you train at medium volume. Don't, like for people who want to belt, meaning take chest voice up high, that training loud is not how you start. You train at medium volume, and you think of loud as a variation and you think of soft as a variation. And a lot of people don't realize you can belt softly, that belting doesn't have to be loud and it doesn't have to be resonant. In my view, belting is just taking a talking sound or a calling sound or a yelling sound up high. And it's a different, and it takes a lot of pressure, a lot of breath support to do that. And I teach a very precise breath support to enable the vocal cords to continue clapping, right? For chest voice.
Got you.
Continue clapping without squeezing, without having to be loud. And Barbra Streisand's a good example of this. She could do it all. Like
she's a good example of a lot of things.
Well, that's fun.
She's very good at this.
She could be very brassy, that traditional Ethel Merman style belting. Or in her pop singing, she could take a light, high sound up and just float. Celine Dion was good at that too. It's not used a lot, and a lot of people don't consider that belting. But to me, it's the same mechanism. It's just a softer version of it. I like to try to separate things out like a cook would. So I've got all my different ingredients, and then I can make them do all kinds of things. And then I let my artistry make the decision. I don't, when I'm singing and I'm in the zone, and this is just where experience comes, is that I just get to sit back and watch the show and listen to my voice do things that are thrilling to me or create emotion in me. And, or if they don't create emotion in me, I can see that they're affecting the audience. And it's wonderful to be able to cook and know all your ingredients and not just be limited by one sound. Which is what I found for classical. It was pretty much one, maybe two sounds for all the songs. Like for opera, it would be louder. So it would have a lower voice box, and I would have to really go for power. And then you couldn't understand the words, because if people are singing really powerfully in opera, I don't even know what language they're singing half the time. So you forfeit intelligibility of words to get the power and the beauty and the openness and the long phrases. But then if you're singing in a classical way for art song, where it's just you and the piano, then you can be more delicate and you have more choices. You mentioned something earlier about different, like pop styles. You can do so much more. And it is a guilty pleasure, I know, for some classical singers to go, I sang jazz last night, and they look so like a
little mortified, like we're gonna get some judgment now.
That's right. And I said, what is it that you love about it? It's because I can do anything I want. Literally.
It opens up their toolbox.
And their creativity. And they can still sing opera at the drop of a pen. But
what a great skill, by the way.
So we're artists. I mean, if you either want to be a vocal technician or you want to be an artist. I want to be an artist with mastery of my vocal technique, but that's not my goal. My goal is to be an artist, to make magic, to feel like I'm channeling some kind of universal life force, that I'm connecting in a magical, joyful, uplifting way with other people, that I'm just having lots of fun and not worrying about my voice. Sometimes it's as simple and banal as that. But you need a vocal technique so that your voice doesn't betray you. It just does what you want it to do, and it can change itself depending, and you sing it differently every time, so that you don't get into that grind we talked about earlier.
This sounds so much like what I would suspect would be a classical definition of mastery. You train and train and train and train these basic techniques. I'm thinking about martial arts styles.
Think about it.
And then you start to move like water, and you can just flow, because now you've got the complete understanding of how, and then you just unleash it into these beautiful artistic approaches to expression. And I was thinking about this in martial arts terms. You're describing it in vocal mastery or singing terms. I think this is across the board.
But it all has art.
It all has art. Yeah, all of it.
It's not just you sitting at a screen and a computer creating maybe magic on the computer, but it's not the same as that interconnected live being with a human. So when I was in Buenos Aires a few weeks ago, I did a workshop, and I was doing all the different styles, and from opera to R&B to country and rock. And the people, there was a couple hundred people there, they'd never seen that before. And I'm hoping that they came away with a new sense of they weren't all singers. Some of them were in speech, some of them were doctors. It helped give them an idea of, oh, well, if she can do it, other people can do it. That it can be so much singing, especially if you're interested in world music. And I've done all kinds of other styles, North Indian, South Indian. I've sung in dead languages. That was a real treat. For my master's recital, I only wanted to do medieval and early Renaissance music up to the year 1450. And so I was singing songs that had French, German, and Italian that is no longer spoken. They're
Oh,
dead,
interesting.
the old
Like archaic.
versions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. And at the time, it was hard to know exactly if I was doing it right. But I did find one slim book. I went to the Cal State Northridge Library and found one slim book about French as it was pronounced in the time period. And I would practice that. And I just thought that was like, to me, as a language nerd, that was like opening up a box and finding a magical treasure inside.
Yes.
That I found this little book that helped me say it as maybe was said, that these sounds have not come into the ears of humans in,
Centuries.
800 years or whatever.
Oh, that's so cool.
One of my favorite styles to sing is medieval and Renaissance music. And so I slum backwards. A lot of classical singers think that they're slumming when they sing pop or jazz or any,
Any of the
rock,
contemporary.
any of the contemporary stuff. I feel like my joke is that it's not that funny. But I still, it makes me smile, is that I slum backwards to that. And I've been with I've had an experience that was twice at Cambridge, at the University of Cambridge in England. And that was just such a thrill to be able to be there, the only American in the group, singing really difficult music, sight reading music, and doing a performance 5 days later. Just absolutely magical music where it just makes me want to cry thinking about it, of how beautiful the music was and how it feeds my soul in a completely unique way. And to live on these campuses that have like this one college I stayed at was from 1550, and I'm walking now I'm at this other place. I'm walking in the footsteps of Isaac Newton. He walked these same steps, and it's and that's a whole different way of singing as well, and it requires a different skill set. But one that I really adore and I miss singing early music, and I wish people could hear it more. It's just not they hear Baroque music, they hear opera, if they hear either of those. But early music is very popular in Europe, but it's less popular here, and people don't get exposed to it very much. And the music itself is so interesting, and they did things that nobody has done since then. And the way the harmonies move against each other. Plus, in that program I went to, people would come with their recreations of medieval and Renaissance instruments. So they'd come with sackbuts and crumb horns and these horns that, all of it's really hard to play.
And they all sound like things you're making up on the fly. I have no idea.
Like I'm just making up these words. Really hard to play in tune, because over the centuries, people have refined those instruments so that they're more in tune and easier to play. And now they're called a bassoon or an oboe.
Right. So the modern derivatives of these early works.
Yes. But people and lutes. I saw lutes I'd never seen before. There were tiny little lutes. And there was one that the neck was as tall as you are, and you're tall. The neck it reached out about, I don't know, like 5 or 6 feet from my armpit. And it's called a theorbo, I believe. And I'd never seen that before. And all these different lute players. It was just like, who gets to do this?
What a cool exploration.
I'm such a lucky girl. I feel so lucky and so blessed. I really do. And that makes me feel like I have no right sitting on a beach drinking a margarita. I have an obligation to share my life's work with other people, even if I don't feel like it sometimes, because I have been so blessed with these wonderful musical, artistic, and people experiences. Learning, and when you are a curious person like you are as well, there's such joy in learning new things.
It's a joy that I struggle to express. Yes.
And it's almost a bad habit. It's like I ask too many questions, and I want to know, like, stop with the questions already, you know.
Nice.
You're annoying me. Like, nobody asked that question before. Like, well, why not? It's such
Yeah.
an important question. Are people not asking that question?
Yeah.
And when it comes to voice, why are people looking at vibrato or vocal register? And those are just two of the 3-page ongoing list I have. What I do is I have a master list that I keep adding to, and then I find out which laboratories have which equipment.
Yeah.
And then I go to the conferences, and then I meet them there, and I hit them up.
Nice.
Then
Stealthy. I like it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of
Yeah.
plan there going on. I go, that's my next guy.
Yeah.
And then I like schmooze them and
Stock 'em and schmooze 'em.
yeah.
I get you. I get you.
It's like, how many postdocs can you give me? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, we're doing this. Make time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me your best folks that could actually do the science part. I'll just come in and do the tasks and conduct the orchestra of what we're doing. And I'll explain to these doctors who are going to be doctors, I'll explain why I'm doing these tests. Like, because we're all saying, they may not admit it, but I just assume people are interested in singing, whether they sing or not, normally. But they may not want to get too into the details, but I found that people think it's weird because it's invisible.
Yeah.
You don't think people are that curious about singing?
I know. I think they are. Well, it's interesting because I always think that everybody should be curious about singing.
Yes, and when I meet people who aren't, I think there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, I think you and I have a perspective that other people might look at us and say there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
So,
I have
welcome
had
to
that
humanity.
on a cruise recently. I told some people about what I'd done and who I'd toured with, and they didn't ask me any questions about it. I didn't see any spark of light in their eyes. I still enjoy them, but I steered it. I steered it and started asking about them. And he had a garage. He was from Liverpool, and he had a garage, and he did trucks in his garage. So I just and that's interesting too. So.
And for him, he's very grounded in this other very
world.
sort of hands-on world. You can see it. You can make sense of it. This voice, this is ephemeral. What is this?
Yeah.
We can't really describe it. Well, it turns out we can.
Yeah, it turns out we can. And we can do it in ways that are simple, I think, and are pretty user-friendly. I mean, I can get as deep in with the Latin terms as, but that's not my goal. I consider my method, the VoiceWorks method, is everything in between in my brain. It's everything I know now, and it's everything I will continue to learn. So it's not changing a whole lot, but I have to be open to it. If my current register research shows that there is such a thing as mix, I may need to revise. But I'm hoping not. I'm hoping I'm right. I'm hoping I'm right about that one thing that we're either in one or the other on any note that you do, and that it's just like, you get, which mountain are you going to die on? And so I'm willing to die on the mountain of right now.
Of no mix.
Of no mix, a vocal that humans can do one or the other, but not a combination of both.
Ooh.
But
I feel like it could be, but I don't know. I don't have any of the research. You're the one who's going in on it.
And also it's the doing and the feeling. And
correct.
Now, if I do something, I'm just going to do a little siren. And so as I'm moving through from one register to another, there may be a note where there is a combination of the two, but that's not how we sing.
Right.
We hold notes when we sing.
Okay.
Even if it's just for a fraction of a second. So when you hold a note, it's one or the other. So I'm kind of leaving a little window open.
Yeah.
So if I go, ooh, was there a millisecond of time where I look at the vocal cords and they're neither clapping nor undulating, or they're doing both?
Or is the transition so smooth?
But it's not singing.
Yeah.
It's not singing. That's not singing. That's doing this little vocal experiment.
That's making noises. Yeah.
It's making a sound. And then trying to go for a smooth transition. But I can do that thing all in chest voice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still the cold. It will not go away. It's all the talking sound. Feels like that. I'm still talking.
Yeah.
I can do it all in head. I'm not talking. I'm not talking.
Right.
I'm not talking.
And there's a different quality to it's almost a rounder tone.
Yes, it's hollow also.
Yes.
It's more hollow. And if you look at the chords, they also look hollow. It reminds me of like a little canoe.
Oh.
I know you want to hear my low note.
I do.
I know you want to hear my low A in head voice. So I'm going to give it to you right now.
Let's go.
Again, anyone at home can do this.
And I'm almost thinking while you're describing this and getting set up, I'm almost imagining it like a crossfade of two tracks that you're crossfading into each other, and one of them being the body and one being the head. That's not what you're showing here, but like
Right, I'm
imagining that.
So that you've got to get away from head and chest.
I know.
Because it's baggage.
I know.
So I call chest voice M1.
Okay.
Mechanism 1.
That.
Or mode 1. And the head voices and falsetto are the same thing. It's M2. And so by taking the chest and the head out of it,
it changed the whole understanding.
The whole model of what I think a lot of people can do. So here's my low note, my absolute low note.
Okay.
Do you know what your low note is?
I don't. We can try to find it.
I'm guessing it's this note.
Oh.
Just any.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, we'll take that one.
It gets a little low, yeah.
Okay, so that's a low D.
Okay.
Now put your head down and very, very softly on an ooh, blow air through. Starting head voice high on 2. Ooh. And go.
Well,
right in.
A little raspy.
It should feel very hollow. Put your head down. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. It should feel different.
It does.
Than it did a minute ago when you did that note in M1.
It did. It was very different, and it felt very. It wasn't comfortable. I wasn't used to it.
Yes, it's not uncomfortable. There's no discomfort, but it's so weird feeling.
Yes, I was trying to find the right word for
weird.
Very weird.
It is weird.
Oh, fun.
So the ooh with the super breath and really breathy and head down and real soft. Anyone can try that, and it does feel very strange because your vocal cords have never once in your X amount of years on the planet have made that shape.
That's right. I know what I'm doing on the drive home. Thanks, Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's gonna be watching me. They're not going to hear it. They'll be like, "What's that guy doing?"
Oh, it's LA. People, they're used to seeing people put their mascara on or text with both hands. So then they're not going to.
I'm going to try not to do that. My mascara's fine.
Yeah, it's fine the way it is. And we've got 10 and 2 on the wheel.
That's right. That's right.
Anything else you wanted to ask about? Like, the whole touring experience was really wonderful and wacky, and
I'd love to hear about it.
In 2019 I had the pleasure of touring as a backup singer, as a team player.
And I think this was just before we met. Like I think you would either
that was 2019.
I think we met in 2019 because my show was December 2019.
Oh, okay.
So I probably showed up around November.
Okay, so it was the whole summer, 3 months, and I'd never slept on a tour bus before, and it was with Weird Al Yankovic all across the U.S. and Canada, and I've been close with Al since the very beginning of his career in the early 80s, and have sung on a lot of his albums, and I've performed with him before, but never in this way where I was center stage and I was dancing, and it was three gals. We call ourselves Al's Gals.
Nice.
And it was a full orchestra. This was so wild. The expense, I can't imagine. But there were, in every show, there were a minimum of 40 orchestral players. And they started the show with half an hour of really wonderful orchestral music from films like Mission Impossible or Star Wars. And there was a conductor, and so he was on the tour as well. And it was an hour and a half show, and there were costumes. I had costume changes and dance routines and big screen and all the videos. It was a fabulous show. And I got to sing for, 250,000 people, and I'm in my 60s,
Yeah.
and and I think, who does this for the first time in their 60s? I felt completely comfortable on stage, couldn't wait to get out on stage, looking at thousands of happy, nerdy faces who just adore Al. And he would just give himself 100% at every show. And I've coached him over the years on voice and vocal health, and showed him a few things that kind of saved him, I think.
I believe that.
The first week he started to lose his voice, and because he was warming up with a CD someone told him he needed to warm up with. And it was quite a violent vocal warm up. And I'm more of a save it for the stage kind of person. It's like, if you know how to sing, you don't have to spend half an hour killing yourself backstage and then you're vocally tired when you get on stage.
Right.
So I said, well, let's just try this. He was really worried about it. And I said, let's just try this. I had gotten them the vocal mist and the big straw that is very popular for vocal rehab, kind of resets the vocal cords, relaxes them and resets them. And I said, don't do any warming up. I said, let's just see what happens this week. Just try to you could do a little bit of humming or a couple of those, see how your voice is. But other than that, let's see what happens. I never heard him warm up again, and he never had a vocal problem again.
I was thinking about warm up and whether or not it's useful or important, and it might be, I don't know, but you're sort of suggesting that it's not necessary.
I don't think it's that necessary.
Yeah.
As necessary as many teachers promote. They think that warming up is absolutely essential. I think when you know how to sing,
Yeah. You'll be able to sing.
yeah, you can just sing. Like when you put a key in a car and you just start it, it just starts. It's what it does. It's, what I did do for myself is I would warm up only, not out of fear,
Right.
but more to check my voice, to see how it was that day.
Yeah.
I have certain little tests I do to see how my voice is. Like if I'm singing and my vibrato is a little slow and heavy, then I know I need to warm up a little bit more. But if it's pretty fast, normal, fast speed, a lightness feeling in my vocal cords, well, then I pass that. I don't need to do anything. I have little tests I do to see if my high chest voice, if my belting is comfortable. And so I just check that out, and I might do a little lip trills and, just to stretch and squish the lengthen and shorten the vocal folds. Some session singers like to warm up just because they love to sing, they just want to sing.
I get that.
But this fear that many people get, which is I have to use my exercise CD, otherwise I'm hurting myself. It's a myth. Now there have been studies done about warming up and cooling down, and the cooling down exercises really do help. To me, if my voice is tired, I'm prone to rest it. If there's swelling or I'm fatigued, I just rest it a little bit. But there have been studies that shown that it's useful to warm up and to cool down. But I haven't found that for myself, and I haven't found it with the professional singers who I work with. They just know their voices and they save it for the stage.
Noting not a professional vocalist over here. And on the drive over, I was thinking almost exactly the same terms, and I was convinced that it was a form of hubris expressing itself in me, because I took that same approach when I was big into lifting, like a lot of powerlifting and weightlifting. I got to a point where, why am I wasting my time and energy with these warm-ups when I can use this to push myself further down the line? And I started taking that same approach when I was doing more singing. And I found that I didn't need to do, just like you're saying, I needed to just check where I was. And then I could evaluate and then decide what I could and couldn't do right away and how I needed to move into it, or where I would need to shape my mouth more rather than manage my throat shape. I guess is the way I think about it. And I came to the same conclusion that you're describing, which I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit.
Good for you.
I don't know if I'm right or
intuition.
not, but it's how it felt.
And it may vary with people, but I've been around enough LA session singers to see how they work, or in this case, don't work. And they don't have fear about their voices. A lot of people come from the classical world or they're students, and there's just this tremendous fear about the voice. I must eat, I must wear a scarf, I must protect the voice. I have to,
Is
even
that why
men,
I see
like,
scarves in LA?
yeah,
I
with the
wondered.
scarves. Or one person said, "Oh, I have to eat cabbage. Like if I don't eat, I sing better if I eat cabbage." One singer even told me, "I eat saltines. If I want the best sound, I eat saltines. You mean dry, crunchy, salty?" I know it's weird, but when I eat saltines before I sing great. I once had a conversation with Dennis DeYoung from the group Styx, and I was interviewing him about what he does before a show, and he says, "Well, you know what? I like to have a chocolate bar." I said, "But doesn't that create mucus?" He goes, "It does. But when I cough it up, it feels right." So people develop all kinds of little habits
My thing was chocolate as well. That's
by accident that works for them.
yeah.
Sometimes it's just a crutch, like the cabbage. It's got to be a crutch. Or grapes. That was another one I heard. I've got to have grapes. That just was like I had grapes. I sang great that
Right.
night. Therefore, grapes make for good voice. So sometimes
We
people
we
are the
we
little fuzzy
we push all
bunnies.
these ideas together and we find
Right.
patterns where they might not be there.
Right. Might
It's
be a
our
little
strength.
rabbit.
It's our weakness.
Right. Both. But I'll never forget when he said that, because it was so interesting and unique that this was his go-to thing, just to create the right level of
Yeah.
thicker, thin mucus going on. It's just endlessly fascinating. When I talk with my singing teacher friends, and we talk shop, or I go to the labs and we talk, or the doctors, international doctors, I choose, I love it. I love conferences so much. It's my college. I'm with the brightest, I'm with the people who have written the textbooks, and I get to hang out with them and have meals and drinks, and I can run things by them. And it used to be when you were a singing teacher, you were on the lower end of the totem pole. But I've been able to crawl up the totem pole over the years by doing presentations and reading papers, but mostly just singing at these conferences. There's a lot of singing that goes on at these voice conferences. Group singing, bands. They know how to, there's a lot of great singers who are doctors who get up there in their little cocktail dresses and their heels, and they just go, just some real singing egos out there in the conference world. We know how to have a good time at the conferences.
I feel like I shouldn't be surprised by this, but that caught me off guard. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting, because I just don't think sometimes that people's conferences are quite as much fun as ours are, because we have a lot of artistic brains. Like, you're a technical brain, but you're also an artistic brain.
That's right.
And there are more people like you out there than you would think in the voice research community.
Yeah.
Like in the Czech Republic, the two guys I was working with, they were both scientists, well-known, brilliant scientists, but they both were in bands,
Yeah. Well, you kind of called it a little bit ago, basically saying, hey, this is getting nerdy. Hey, this is for the nerds out there. Well, yeah, people who love doing a thing like singing, if they're nerds, they're going to try to figure it out. And we're going to give enough of a crap to understand it.
On that thought, people realize they don't have that somebody can do what they can't do. So,
Yeah.
so I can provide ideas and projects, because they have these labs. And so I have, like I said, I have these wonderful open invitations. I just have to give them the list, give them the dates, and show up, and maybe we'll get a paper, a scientific paper out of it that I can present. Usually I do the presentations, but sometimes they'll present the paper. And different kinds of conferences that have different angles. Some are more data, some are more bioengineering. That's a little out of my lane, but they keep asking me back. So I was like, okay, I'm sort of the resident singer for the super sciencey ones, where I don't even know what the titles of the papers mean.
But you can make it into something that's tangible
and entertaining. I just think if you're going to do a paper, keep them awake, keep it entertaining, throw a few jokes in,
Yeah. Oh, now I got to read one of these papers. Okay.
It's another way to perform.
It is. It
so
is.
Memorizing the lyrics for 200 songs, not my gift. But I can sing and teach simultaneously. That's a gift I have. So I can be entertaining while I'm demonstrating the thing I'm actually analyzing and talking about. So I'm reliable for, at least a few laughs that way.
And the drier researchers probably appreciate it because it helps people continue to pay attention and maybe absorb a little bit more effectively.
I think so. More
Yeah.
take home. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're more likely to
The
remember.
recall and the
And
retention.
I was at a conference where I said, I'm sorry. The conference leader, I've known her for decades. I said, I'm sorry. I just, that was a tough one. It wasn't as good. Oh, don't worry about it, Lisa. Everybody loves you. And I went, that meant so much
How
to
great
me.
does that feel?
It felt so great that basically this esteemed scientist who is, she's paid to be the national voice researcher of her whole country, had something so sweet to say to me that made me feel like, oh, okay, I'll just keep doing it then. I won't be so self-conscious if I'm a little out of my lane and feel like maybe this is not, maybe I'm embarrassing myself here.
Yeah. And the incentive structure, like what you're doing has value to other people. And they're expressing that value to you in a way that really resonates with your joy.
I couldn't have said it better. And it just keeps you going. And because to go to conferences is very expensive. They don't pay me. I might fit a little vacation around it, but it's my investment
Yeah.
in everything I've been able to amass and everything else. Since I don't have children, I want my legacy to be my life's work for people who are just like me, who just are interested, like just the general public. People go, I just want to really be a good singer in this style or these styles, or it's an infinite source of passion and frustration for them because they know they could be better, or they think they might be able, but they don't know how. And so I feel like they put themselves and their vulnerabilities and their talent or lack thereof in my hands. So there's a lot of psychology
There's massive
that goes
trust.
on. Yes, and I understand that. I appreciate that, and I honor that especially the teachers, when teachers come to me for lessons, even in my workshops, where they say to me things like, I have this history, I have a full studio in their whatever small town in Iowa, but I feel like a fraud because they can't do what their students with no training can come in and do. They said, I went to school, I have these letters after my name, and I have no idea what they're doing.
I see this across fields. Yeah.
And they'll say, I know I do no harm, but I don't really know how to help them be better because I can't even make these sounds myself. And I've had people, mostly older women, who have cried, not a lot, but it's happened, and it left an impression on me that they're putting themselves, and I always say, thank you for being here. I know that in this workshop, this might be, it's changing now, but because people are more open to being open.
Yeah.
And to saying, I want to know about extreme sounds. I want to know about belting. I want to know about, I'm doing another one, the workshop, I call it soul training, about R&B singing.
Yeah.
How do I sing those licks like that where I don't sound like an opera singer? How do I listen to Christina Aguilera or Celine Dion or Whitney Houston? How do I figure out what they're doing and imitate that? So I have little systems for that. Why is R&B so popular? So I talk about the history of it, of its roots in gospel and the church, and charisma and exaltation and hip motion and making circles with the body and sexuality. And I try to bring all of that in. So that's in September for the Voice Study Center UK, a 2-hour workshop on soul training, because it is almost all pop music now reaches deep into this R&B, this rhythm and blues well. And though I'm not a specialist in it, I just investigate, and I can do it. I can do it with my voice and show other people how to do it so they can feel soulful if that's what they're interested in.
And that gives such, I feel that R&B and soul has a deeper connection to people just by the nature of the sound and as you were calling it, that exaltation, that you're even calling it the right thing, I think, in my opinion, that soul.
Yeah. What is soul? How do I add
using
that
a word to define a word
in my pop singing? They'll sing pop, but it sounds too straight.
Yeah.
How do I get some of that Africa in my sound?
Sure.
And I just, okay, we'll just do this. Okay, everybody got that? Okay, now just go around the room, and then they're just uplifted because this new sound comes out of their mouth that wasn't hard to do, but is not intuitive.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I take the best singers of any style and I observe them, and I know that what I'm seeing is an integral part of how they sound. I don't just use my ears, I also imitate, because I am a mimic, which is proven helpful. I do what they do with their bodies, the way they stand, the way they hold their mouths, facial expressions, how are the teeth, and then I develop little simple like recipes or methodology that you use. Like I could put it on a chart. I should, if you remember, I'll send you a chart from my workshops that looks at a bunch of different styles and all the different components. It's not that helpful,
Mm-hmm.
I think, to see it on a chart, but that it could even be chartable is the whole point.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that you go, okay, I got to do this. It's not like that. It's not like a real recipe. It's
No.
more about observing and mimicking. And they could have done it too, but they didn't.
And you chose to visualize it in a way that allows it to be recognized.
And visualize and then modify it into a simple atomic level to take all the separate parts of it as separately controllable. Now that's not realistic, because when you do one thing, it's connected to 5 other things. But for teaching purposes, that's my goal. There's science-oriented teachers and there's pedagogical-oriented, meaning I want to get the result for my student in as short a time as possible with as much fun and joy as possible. So my science is actually is secondary to what works. I'll do whatever works to my mission.
There's that pragmatic approach.
The pragmatic and intuitive, on my part, approach to what does this person need at this point in their life with either their professional goals, or they've got they're auditioning for, they're in high school and they're auditioning for the lead in some show. So there's a lot of intuition and dream state stuff that happens in really good teachers. I can feel inside a person's body.
Yeah.
I can feel what their vocal cords are doing. I tell them sometimes so they can imagine they can feel it, even though they can't feel it yet. But I can feel things. I can see things with my X-ray vision. I know I can hear a sound and tell you all the ingredients that go into the sound. Is it a parlor trick? No, it's very useful in me pinpointing what might need to be fixed and not fix 5 other things or get off track, and just fix only the little thing that they need so we can get to the songs faster.
Yeah.
And not just work on vocal technique. Again, people sometimes get really, especially if they've trained a long time and they still have frustrations with their voice, they're really confused. I've had people come into me and they don't trust me because they've been disappointed. And so they don't trust anything I say. I'm just another person who's going to let them down. That's a difficult student to have.
Yeah.
It makes the process, and they'll leave because they're not even open to anything new. I don't even know why they're there.
Going through the motions to say that they tried,
yes,
even if they maybe didn't.
Yes, and it's
sort
insulting.
Of
It's insulting to me to feel like I have to defend my life's work.
Yeah.
Like, like who have you worked with, or
yeah.
Well, I keep that private. I treat all my students as I don't. That's not why I'm who I am as a teacher, is because of I taught so and so. In fact, my celebrity clientele are some of the worst people because they're so insecure and they have so many issues and they're not all there.
And they have all these attachments that are predicated on them being good at this, so they have to keep thinking that they are.
Many more insecurities and a lot of emotional issues. I'd rather work with someone who just, who thinks that I know everything, even if I don't. They think I know everything, and they just can't. They're so hungry. They're so hungry, and they're so appreciative for every little thing. Like when on my 2-hour workshop in Buenos Aires, we had to shut the place down because people didn't want to leave afterwards. There were crowds of people, mostly young women, who just didn't want to leave yet. They just wanted to come up to me and connect and and they were so thankful because they knew that that it was a sacrifice for me to be there. And they smiled. A couple people cried, and we were holding each other, and there was all this hugging and photos, and it was so rewarding. And so I didn't get to be a big pop star, but I have something that's even more meaningful than just an evening of entertainment.
Yes.
I'm putting that in, but it was really, I want them to leave with a new sense of what's possible.
Right.
With their own voices or their clients' voices, if they're in speech. And the few of the things I told them, and I think this is a game changer in terms of vocal technique, and you're not learning this in speech therapy. I know what we're learning in the US, and it's not, it's very limited in helping people with disordered voices. I said, you want to do this, this, and this with everybody who walks in the door who has a problem with their voice. And they won't be able to come as long because you're going to solve the problem. So,
Which
anyway,
is a good
legacy.
thing. Which is a good thing. And to your point, that feels way more personally, just from reflecting on what you're saying, that feels way more personally fulfilling to me than, oh, you know what, I'm sorry you didn't get to become a giant pop star. And also, all of what you just described sounds so beautiful. I don't even know if you would ever want to trade that in for the other world that we didn't have.
I think the other world I didn't have, I would have always been worried about. I got to write a hit song. That was the stress that I had, was constantly being told, gosh, Lisa, you're so talented, but you got to write a hit song. So I wrote 3 hit songs in 1987. I have the demo. Then I quit because I at least fulfilled my own personal, okay, they don't see it. They'll never see the light of day. But I feel like they were the hit songs that never were.
And they worked for you.
And it fulfilled me in terms of my songwriting, of trying to get to a level where I thought, I can do this. Okay, I'm done. Next.
Yeah.
But it was tough though.
I bet. Lisa, thank you so much
well, thank you for
inviting me to my home, or your home.
Well, you want that? Of course you want to.
Well, it's beautiful out here. Of course I do. But
Well, thanks for driving a long way. We had a very nice Mexican meal.
Thank you for that.
That was super yummy, and I look forward to sharing some with your ever growing list of listeners who appreciate the idea of connection, and that if you just reach out to people, they might be so interesting that it can be another turning point in your thinking about all kinds of topics and about what it takes to be happy in life.
Yeah. And
fulfilled in life and have meaning in life. And
you serving me delicious Mexican food set the bar for whoever I talk to next. So I'm looking at you. I know who you are. Lisa, thank you again so much. It was a wonderful pleasure.
Thank you for the interview. I really enjoyed it.
All right, everybody. Have a great one.